Welcome to today's explainer. For centuries, brilliant minds have been completely obsessed with finding one specific thing, the theory of everything. It's the ultimate quest, right? Looking for that master key that finally explains exactly how the entire universe works. But according to the fascinating source material we're unpacking today, that search has hit a massive, massive wall. The experts, it seems, are completely stuck. So we're going to explore exactly why this source claims we've reached a dead end and, honestly, more importantly, the highly unconventional solution it proposes to get us moving again. Okay, let's just dive right into this with a question that immediately flips all our modern assumptions totally upside down. What if the missing variables in string theory aren't hidden dimensions at all, but a 6,000-year-old manual? This right here is the core hook of our source material today. It's asking us to consider whether the ultimate scientific roadblock, the incredibly complex and incomplete math of modern physics, could actually be solved by looking way back at an ancient framework. It is a really bold claim, so let's see exactly how the author builds this argument step by step. Section 1. Physics and Theology Failures, the Two Dead Ends. The author neatly categorizes the failure of our current worldviews into two distinct camps. On one side, we have theologians. The text points out that while they offer compelling stories of divine mystery, they pretty much completely ignore the first and second laws of thermodynamics. And the argument here is simple. You just cannot explain a world driven by energy while turning a blind eye to the fundamental laws of physics. But before you think this source is just taking a shot at religion, take a look at the other side. Modern scientists, the text argues, have reached the absolute pinnacle of mathematical modeling with string theory. It is a brilliant system, and yet it remains perpetually incomplete. So basically, both sides have hit a wall. Section 2. The Math Leak. Escalating the Unknowns. We start with the number 4. 4 represents the bedrock of our observable reality. The source notes that physicists began their modern calculations grounded in the 4 observable dimensions of spacetime. This is the stuff we can actually see, measure, and experience directly. But to explain the larger universe, 4 just wasn't enough. So the theories had to expand. Enter the number 11. The source explains that to try and explain the universe more fully, scientists developed M-theory, which originally proposed 11 dimensions. They literally had to mathematically invent these extra dimensions just to make their theories about the universe work on paper. But here is where the problem really starts, and this brilliantly illustrates the dead end. The number 22. According to the source, as scientists' calculations became more and more refined, their math essentially started to leak. To stop their incredible equations from just completely collapsing in on themselves, they had to keep increasing the number of variables. They eventually had to settle on 22 unknowns. These are 22 parameters required completely beyond our standard 4 dimensions of observable spacetime just to keep the math consistent. Now, the absolutely crucial point here is that physicists aren't trying to hide anything from us. They simply do not have the manual. They have spent decades literally adding placeholders, these 22 unknowns, to their math to account for energy they know is there, but simply cannot see or explain. They're essentially flying blind, using mathematical duct tape to hold the theory of everything together. Section 3. The Ancient Circuit, an Astrological Perspective. So the source now introduces us to a much older and what it claims is a much more accurate way to read the universe. It's called the Ahura Mazdan-Amisha Sepantan system. Mapped 6,000 years ago on the Iranian plateau, practitioners of this ancient craft operated on a very specific foundational belief. They didn't see the universe as just a collection of random, chaotic events. Instead, they treated the universe as a machine. The idea is that we are all part of a larger functional energy circuit. And because it's a machine, it can be measured. The source breaks down this ancient practice into a surprisingly mechanical process. Step 1, measure the angular relationships between stellar entities. Step 2, by doing so, you can literally read the voltage of the universe in real time. It is a purely mechanical observational approach to energy. Now let's look at how this actually evolved over time. 6,000 years ago, early observers tracked what they could see with the naked eye, 7 planetary entities and 7 basic angles. But the text notes, as human ability to measure the heavens grew, so did the precision of this system. In the modern day, this system tracks exactly 22 planetary entities and measures their precise 3-dimensional angles. Section 4. Connecting 22 variables. Closing the gap. Let's put these two approaches head-to-head for a second.
Think about the physicist's journey. They started at 11, realized it totally wasn't enough, and climbed up to 22 just to keep their math from falling apart. They call these 22 variables abstract hidden dimensions because, well, they simply have no other way to justify why they exist. Now compare that to the astrologer's solution. They don't guess, they measure. Their 22 variables aren't abstract dimensions drawn up on a chalkboard. They are 22 actual planetary entities. They are physical points of control in a massive planetary circuit. The author is directly mapping the physicist's mathematical placeholders to the astrologer's measured reality.
And this leads to a really striking claim. The author states that when you track these 22 points, the entire mystery of string theory basically just disappears. According to this perspective, physicists aren't looking at hidden dimensions in a vacuum at all. Without even realizing it, they are looking at the literal control knobs of a planetary circuit. The argument is that the math of string theory is just blindly tracing the mechanics of this ancient astrological system. Section 5. Reading the angles, the final takeaway. So, the text concludes that science and religion have both failed because they absolutely refuse to look outside their own strict models and rules. The theory of everything isn't some secret locked away in a multi-billion-dollar particle accelerator. It is and always has been a set of angles moving across the sky for the last 6,000 years. I really love the mechanical vernacular used here. The machine is running, the angles are moving, and the argument is that, finally, we have the tools to simply read the manual. There's a quote from the text that I think captures this entire argument perfectly. We don't need miracles, and we don't need unknowns. We just need to measure what is actually happening. It's a powerful call to strip away the mystical stories of theology and the abstract, leaky math of theoretical physics, and just observe the literal, physical mechanics of the circuit we are living inside of. So, we'll end on this provocative thought. We've seen how the source completely reframes the greatest struggle in modern physics into a simple matter of reading a 6,000-year-old dashboard. If the universe truly is a machine, and those 22 unknowns are actually the control knobs, are we finally ready to read the angles? It is a genuinely fascinating perspective that for sure challenges how we view the cosmos, the limits of modern science, and the wisdom of ancient measurements. That wraps up our explainer for today. Keep questioning, keep learning, and we will see you next time.